Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. I'm gonna have a couple of disclaimers for things. I am trying out a new mic because I have such an exciting project coming out later on this year in which I need to make sure that like my filming setup is on point, and that my sound is on point. So I'm trying this mic. You might see it move in different points during this video because what I don't want to do is record this whole video and then come to edit it, like, you know, extract the footage and find that, like, I don't know, something was going on with the sound. So I feel like if I put it in different places, I will at least be able to get the best sound possible. And then my other disclaimer is it is a very, very sunny day today, which is like so nice. It is 6:30, yeah, just gone 6:30, and it is still bright and wonderful. Summer solstice has passed, so that means the days are gonna start to get shorter very soon, but I just felt like filming right now, and I was like, yeah, better take advantage of it whilst it is actually still light outside and things like that. But that does mean the lighting might change throughout the day. And then, yeah, I guess the third thing is that I am actually sat very close to my window, and I honestly think I just have single glazing, so it still might pick up a lot of noise from outside. But I'm also trying new kind of like filming setups, and at the moment we're just trialing sitting in front of my like kind of little mini altar where I have my singing bowls and things like that. So yeah, but in today's video I am going to be talking about the books that I have out from the library and also what I have reserved from the library, because I'm just one of the I'm a big user of my library, and I don't mean just like taking out books as well. Like I do go there quite regularly to like work from there. I just believe in community spaces in which obviously you don't have to like pay for things. There is nothing expected from you. You can just come sit there and do so many things. And yeah, that's you know, there's no expectation that you have to buy anything or pay for anything, and no one's gonna like kick you out. And yeah, the people in my library are just really nice. What I'll do is talk about the books that I am actually currently reading at the moment, or like have started. This book, which I feel like I've talked about so much, but this is On Our Best Behaviour. I have picked this up and really haven't got that far through, but yeah, I think I've had this on loan for maybe like 2.5 months now at this point. This book is talking about women and the way that we kind of like control ourselves, and the way in which, you know, the system of patriarchy are also set up to control us. What this author has done is kind of base these on the 7 deadly sins. So she looks at all the different sins, and I think I've just finished reading, I'm on to envy, so I think the one I just finished reading yet was sloth, and talking about just all the ways in which that like women like overexert themselves essentially. So I guess with envy, I guess maybe in the ways that we tell ourselves not to be envious of people, etc, etc. So still haven't found like just the, I don't know, the kind of like juicy part for this to be kind of like addictive for me to keep wanting to go back to this. There are just other books that just seem to like take over, but I am going to get back into it because at the moment I'm not reading a non-fiction book, so this should be the non-fiction book that I should technically be reading. A book that I'm reading at the moment, so this is out from the library, this is All Falls by Miranda July. So this was shortlisted, I believe, but also definitely longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. And when I looked at that list, I was like, yeah, I'm not really interested in any of those books, so very thankful for that. But this one sounded okay, and I had read No One Belongs As Much As You by Miranda July. I read it years and years ago because it was published years and years ago, so I can't actually remember what I thought about it. But, you know, I was like, she's the only one I recognise, and this book doesn't sound too bad. At first when I started reading this book, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm really going to like it. I think I'll find it okay. And I'm still finding it okay, but I actually think this book is just like fucking like a bit outrageous, like in a really good way, in a way that I'm feeling like, oh, maybe it might be like a 3.5 or 4 star for me, because I just think it's actually quite fucking funny and genius. And I think what I'm liking about it is that this woman is like quite unhinged, like, and I don't mean like she's a crazy person, not like, you know, but I just mean like she's sharing so much like deep thoughts with us that I think are just common within our society, maybe to not that depth or whatever, but I just think there are just so many things that go unsaid in our daily lives. And then when, I guess in her position as well, where she is kind of, you know, married to a man, has a kid, is not kind of this middle class kind of life where there might be all these rampant mad thoughts going through her head, and she just feels like there is only one way that she can be, and there's a way that she has to conform. So I don't even know what, yeah, we never find out her name, but it says a semi-famous artist announces her plan to drive cross-country to LA to New York, and then 20 minutes after leaving her husband and child at home, she spontaneously exits the freeway, beds down into a nondescript motel, and immerses herself into a temporary reinvention that turns out to be the start of an entirely different journey. And yeah, it's just so funny, like when she's in the motel and the things she's doing, it's just like, wonderfully unhinged. Like, I'm reading it and I'm just like, I just love this for this woman. Like, I absolutely love this for her. Yeah, she's getting a bit caught up in some sus things, but okay. But largely kind of what the main topic is that's coming up in here is to do around kind of menopause, perimenopause, and, you know, reaching that kind of like age of 50. And like, you know, it's commonly said by women that, you know, as they reach this kind of age, they just feel like they become invisible to society and losing that kind of, I guess, attraction to men, and perhaps it could also be attraction to women. It's not explicitly stated in this book, so I feel like what's more explicitly stated is about that kind of attraction, you know, being attractive to men. You lose that attractiveness towards men. And then, yeah, there's this graph that's in here which talks about like how women's kind of like estrogen drops, but how men actually throughout their life consistently will have basically the same amount of testosterone that they are born with. It does dip slightly. There is no source for the graph, but I imagine it's not just based on bullshit, but who knows. So I'm actually enjoying this so much. I find it just like outrageously funny. Like I just I just love in some ways like women behaving badly, and this is what this book has. So the book I'm so excited for, I'm going to move this mic just in case it's being weird in this position. So we're back to the middle again. But the book I'm so excited for, this chunky tome, this is Marble Hall Murders. I actually happened to read the kind of acknowledgement in the back, kind of the page, the book fell open on it, and it was actually Horowitz talking about them filming the second season, so the second book, which is called Moonflower Murders, I believe, and how the actress Leslie Mansfield, I suppose, was saying like, I do hope I get to come back for this, basically write a third book. And he's like, that's what kind of made him write this book. And I think I said it in my last one about like these, I hate I say hate. I did not enjoy the TV series of the first book. I actually stopped watching it because I was like, pretty freaking dull. And I think I really said, yeah, I was actually quite surprised for someone who, you know, dramatized some of the Agatha Christie's, that like he let them do this to his wonderful book. Because I just think the TV show just has no excitement in it. And I feel that's a kind of a very British thing, but like I don't even think it has no excitement in that British way. I just feel like it just feels very dull. But anyway, this is the third one. So we're back with our detective Susan. And basically, I think I've read this before, but I'm just going to read this. I'm going to try and summarize it because I actually think that unless you're like really into it, the actual blurb is not that interesting to you. But it says she's edited 2 novels about Atticus Pund, and basically there is a new writer who's writing a continuation of the series. And it says he was the grandson of Miriam Grace. She was a best-selling children's author until her death exactly 20 years ago. And now this author that's carrying on the book, his name is Elliot Crace. He believes that Miriam was deliberately poisoned. And then he tells Susan that he's hidden the identity of the person who he believes killed his grandma in the book. So it says here, as Susan is working on the last case, she has to discover kind of the parallels between the past and this kind of like present book. And then what it doesn't say here, but it does say in other blurbs, is like Elliot himself is killed. So then it kind of adds more to the case, because then like Susan is worried that she is going to be the next person to be killed. And considering what happens in all the other stories, like she should worry. She really should. I'm so excited to get into this because I'm still reading All Fools at the moment. I will be finishing that, and then this is my next read. I love this for me. And I think when I actually finish reading this, I will then also be listening to the audiobook of it later in the year. So to give myself a break from holding up books, let's talk about the books that I have reserved. I have 5 reservations, but one of them has been reserved for a very long time. The first one is Everyone in This Train is a Suspect. Now, I only reserved this book because I'm just like, I want to read more murder mysteries. I read the first book in this series, and I like halfway through I was like, okay, I know who did it. Like it's sus that this character is here. I know who did it. And I think because of that first book, because it was written, the narrator was like talking like directly to us, and you know, it just felt kind of trite. But I enjoyed the mystery aspect of it. So I'm not sure if it's going to be the same kind of like feel and same kind of narration in this one. It didn't like majorly annoy me. I just was a bit like over it after a while. But to give you a summary of this book, it says Australian Mystery Writers Society invites 6 authors to a festival aboard the Garn. So this is a famous train, so obviously we're getting immediately Murder on the Orient Express vibes. It's a who's who of crime writing royalty. then it says, and me, the lowly debut author. But when one of us is murdered, 6 authors must become 5 detectives. This should be easy. Aren't we all experts in whodunits? Unfortunately, that also makes us experts in how to commit murder. And when there's been one, another's sure to follow. Someone has to solve the case, but can I really outsmart the experts and catch the killer? What I will say is I don't think that writing about murder mystery makes you an expert in committing murders. You know, it makes you an expert in crafting a story. But I think the actual genuine act of murder, I don't know if it makes you an expert in that, and also covering up murder, but we'll see. The other book that I have reserved, it's been on reserve for so long, is All the Little Bird Hearts. And when I say it's been reserved for a while, and then it's been like in transit for a while, and I was like, I'm never getting this book. But it's basically about a woman who lives with her 16-year-old daughter, and her name is Sunday, and the daughter's name is Dolly. And it must seem like she might have something like OCD or something like that. It says she does things more carefully than most people. On quiet days, she must eat only white food. And then it's just like one thing that's out of her control is Dolly, her daughter, and her daughter is really, really keen to leave. And then a couple move in next door to them, and that couple's name is Vita and Rolo. And apparently they disarm Sunday with their charm and proceed to break just every rule in her book. And soon they're in and out each other's lives. And Sunday feels loved like she's never had before, but it's like beneath their kind of polished life lies something else darker. For beneath Vita's charm lies a desperation and a settled, entitled ambition to have a daughter just like Dolly or to herself. So I'm just like, oh, I want to know what this is about. I feel like I heard about this book, like I either read some bits from it or like someone spoke about it, because I think it just had some themes in there that I really wanted to read about, but I can't remember what they are now. But either way, the book sounds really good to me. So the other book that I have reserved is Braiding Sweetgrass, and I just feel like everyone knows about this book. Like, you know, like I just feel like 2020, I don't know what was happening. This book just had this like major resurgence and everyone was talking about it. And I can't remember what made me want to like pick it up. I feel like someone I know said something about it being about nature and like us working with nature, and I was like sold. I didn't know that's what it was about, but absolutely keen. And yeah, I actually had this reserved a while ago and picked it up, and then I started it, but then it was due back and I just had other books to finish, and I knew I wouldn't like finish it in time, so I was just like, I'm just going to give it back. And now I'm like number 7 on the queue. So yeah, this is just basically, I think, a novel about like how we can work with nature, how we have worked with nature in the past. I did have enough time to kind of read the intro about it, and she teaches a course, I'm not exactly sure the specifics, but I remember she asked a question of just like, you know, what damage have like humans done to nature? And, you know, the kids in the course, students in the course could name so many things. And then she was like, and in what ways have we kind of like helped nature? And they couldn't name anything. And she found that really shocking, because she was like, our relationship with nature hasn't always been harmful. There have been some progressions that we've made that have been helpful, and I'm really intrigued to kind of see her perspective and just hear more about that. So yeah, really excited to get that book back in my hands, but I'm glad it might take a little while because I've got some other non-fiction reads that I'd like to prioritize. Okay, I had to have a little battery change, so I'm not really sure how things are looking, but let us continue, and I'm going to go back to showing you the books that I have out from the library, because these are 2 really kind of easy ones to show, because they're cookbooks. So the first one is this cookbook, Perjana is how I'm just going to pronounce it. I've actually borrowed this from the library before, and I kind of flicked through it and really liked it, and then just never made anything from it, and then gave it back, and then promptly forgot that you could actually borrow cookbooks from the library. But I love food, like like kind of food from the Middle East. I think it's absolutely delicious, and I'm always curious about like all the different spices and how they're made. So this is perfect. And this is the 10th anniversary of this book, so you know it's like must be fucking well loved by people if they can publish a 10th anniversary of the cookbook, you know. And it's got these like gold sprayed edges as well. Very nice. So yeah, I am gonna be making my way through this and just cooking some new recipes. I love cooking, and I think I've just kind of really been like inspired again to like get back into cooking. At the moment I've been making like a lot of desserts. I'm not a dessert maker or stuff like that. I love eating them, but I like making them, no. But none of the books I have are dessert books. So yeah, that's one of these. It looks absolutely great. And then the other book is from Ottolenghi. So I recently made this dish from Ottolenghi, which I made a couple of times before. I actually made it because someone else made it for me. And it's like this mushroom steaks. I hate like that kind of terminology, and he also says it in his thing. But it's like a mushroom kind of portobello steak with this wonderful like kind of tomato-y kind of sauce that you make. And there's this butter bean mash, and it's absolutely delicious. And I made it for myself and my neighbour, and it was just so good. And I was just like, yeah, I've made a couple of his other recipes and really enjoyed it. So I do actually have an Ottolenghi book. I've got the Test Kitchen one. which is okay. It's not my favorite, but I was just like, I was mentioning it to the person who made it for me, and they were like, oh, they've really been enjoying this book from him. So I was like, okay, yeah, let me get it out and see what I can do. Already I'm just like really looking at some like really delicious stuff. I have already flicked through kind of both books before, and I'm like, there are so many things I can cook. And then a book that I'm so excited to read, cannot wait to read this. I have to read the Anthony Horowitz one first, and I want to read that one first, but the Anthony Horowitz has a it's only a 2-week loan because it is reserved already. But this book, Remarkably Bright Creatures, I think I found out about this on NetGalley, looking at their kind of like top reads of the year so far or something like that. And this is basically like, it says at the top, that octopus book, but it's like the octopus book is it's about a mystery, essentially. That's what I've kind of taken from it. It says here, after Tova Sullivan's husband dies, she begins working as a night shift cleaner at the Sowell Bay Aquarium. Keeping busy has helped her cope for over 30 years, ever since her son Eric mysteriously vanished on a boat. One night she meets Marcellus, a giant Pacific octopus living at the aquarium who sees everything but wouldn't dream of lifting one of its 8 arms for his human captors, until he forms a remarkable friendship with Tova. Ever the detective, see, that's why I was like, this is a murder mystery, or at least a mystery. Ever since the detective Marcellus deduced what happened that night, Tova's son disappeared. Oh, sorry. Ever the detective Marcellus deduces what happened the night Tova's son disappeared, and now he must use every trick in his old body can muster to unearth the truth for her before it's too late. I'm just like, I need to know what happened here. Like, this sounds very, very cool. I know for a lot of people the draw would be the fact that it's the octopus. I'm not that like drawn by sea life, aquarium life. Obviously he's in an aquarium because they've captured him. So that's not the draw for me, but I thought, yeah, I'm keen to see where this goes. And the other book is this book, which I spoke about at the end of the last video about my currently reading. And this is What My Bones Know, a memoir of healing from complex trauma by Stephanie Fu. I'm really, really excited to read this as someone who has been diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, it is just something at the moment that, I mean, I was diagnosed probably like 2 or 3 years ago, but it is something that I just want to read more about. I feel like I'm finally ready to read more things about it. So I heard about this book from one of Gabor Mate's books, and yeah, I just thought, I can't remember what she shared in that book, but I was like, it seems insightful enough. And then when I heard like what her book was about, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to like read this and just find out a little bit more about like her experience. So really looking forward to picking this one up. It is kind of the book I'm going to pick up in between On Our Best Behaviour, because I know I'm not going to finish On Our Best Behaviour. Like, I'll probably pick it up for a little bit, read the chapter, and then I will start this. So the next book on my list is The Wedding People. I have had this book reserved since March, and I am number 4 on the list. There are 36 reservations for it at the moment, and they have 10 copies. So yeah, it says, it's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island, when Phoebe Soames arrives at a grand beach wearing her best dress and comfortable shoes, and she's immediately mistaken for one of the wedding people, but she's the only guest at this inn who is not here for the big event. It says Phoebe has dreamed of coming here for years, and then she hoped to shuck oysters with her husband, but now she's divorced and depressed and not sure how to go on. She's not been sure how to do anything except climb into bed and drink gin and tonics. It says when the bride discovers her elaborate destination wedding could be ruined by this sad stranger, she is furious. She has spent months accounting for every detail and every possible disaster except for, well, Phoebe. Soon both women find their best laid plans derailed and an unlikely confidant in one another. It says this book is an irresistible novel about love, friendship, dysfunctional families, and the unexpected paths that lead to happiness. Again, this was something I found about on Goodreads, and maybe it was like the Goodreads blurbing, or maybe some of the reviews that I read about it. I was like, I am intrigued by this. I'm intrigued to see, like, you know, it's essentially what was going to be like, you know, one woman who was like really excited about her, you know, her marriage, and like what marriage has been like for her, I guess, talking to another woman who is very excited for her marriage. So yeah, I can only think that a lot of advice will be given about the kind of realities of these things. And then the final book that I have reserved out in the library is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. So this book, I've known about it for a while, but yeah, I'm trying to make it through the kind of like Goodreads to read list that I have, and just, you know, making sure I'm getting all the stuff out of the library that I can. And it just says here, are you happy? Those are the last words Jason hears before the masked abductors knock him unconscious. Before he wakes to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in a hazmat suit. Before the man he's never met smiles down at him and says, welcome back, my friend. In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knows. His wife is not his wife, his son was never born, and Jason is not an ordinary college physics professor, but a celebrated genius who has achieved something remarkable, something impossible. Is it this world or the other that's the dream? And even if the home he remembers is real, how can Jason possibly make it back to the family he loves? The answers lie in a journey more wondrous and horrifying than anything he could have imagined. One that will force him to confront the darkest parts of himself, even as he battles a terrifying, seemingly unbeatable foe. Years ago, I heard someone on BookTube talk about this book, and it sounded great. So that's the reason it was on my kind of like reading list and why I want to read it. So yeah, but I can't remember anything that was said in that video, but I know I still have maintained this desire to read this book, and that I will do so. So that is it. Those are all the books that I have out at the library or I have reserved at the library. I think you can have a total of 10 books out at a time. So yeah, I'm kind of in a good place with the ones that I have and like the ones that I plan to return. So when I get some new ones in, that balance will be fine. But yeah, let me know if you're a big fan of your library. Even if you're not, like, let me know what books you're reading at the moment and if you have read any of the books that I mentioned. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.